Hi everyone, this is Mommy Jill5 and I am coming to you guys with another dinner video. My hair is all like this, but it's all good. So let me get started. We are having shrimp Alfredo rice for dinner, and this will be my first time throwing it all together. You know that I like to keep dishes to a minimum, mostly because I don't wash the dishes. My husband washes the dishes, and I don't like washing dishes because the dish liquid messes up my hands. So excuse my makeup. I have makeup on left over from some pictures that I was taking, and my hair is like this because of the same reason. So let's get started. Remember to wash your hands before you start cooking. All right, so what you will need is some spinach. You can use fresh spinach. I like to use the fresh spinach, but we are out of fresh spinach, so I am using frozen spinach. You're going to need some onions to chop, butter or olive oil, and a bag of shrimp, or maybe not a bag of shrimp, but we got this from BJ. So this shrimp is fully cooked, extra large shrimp. Even though the shrimp says it's been cleaned and deveined, I still like to check my shrimp and make sure that it's really clean and really deveined. So I will do that. All right, so to start, you get your pan. My pan is on medium heat, and there we go. So I have my pan here and my knife, and I'm just going to start off with some butter, and I'm going to get my chopped frozen spinach cooking first because it takes kind of long sometimes to get tender. I don't like it to be tough, and frozen spinach can do that. It can be tough sometimes. So I'm just going to spread this around like that. This bowl here is for my shrimp. So I'm going to, in the meantime, pour my shrimp in. If it's frozen, don't worry because this shrimp is already cooked and it thaws really fast. And so I'm just going to rinse it in here. And as I clean it, then I will throw it in the pot. And I also cut the tails off. So as I clean it, I'm going to throw it into my pan. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get my veggies done. This is pretty much all we have left, but that's okay. So I'm going to put the heat up a little bit, let this break down and start to cook. And I'm going to dice a little bit of my yellow onion. So one of my coworkers taught me you don't cut the root off. He says you cut this part. So that's what we do. I like to cut my onion like this when I'm dicing, when I'm chopping it or dicing it, and I'll show you. If it seems like I'm moving pretty quickly, it's because I am. So what I do is I hold it like this lengthwise, and then I go again and I cut it like that. I slide the knife out so that way it doesn't fall to pieces. And I'm just gonna just drop it in like that, right into the pan. And you want to cut them relatively small because you want them to be mixed in with this spinach and the rice. So there we have it. I'm going to cover this and then I will be back. All right, so my spinach and my onions are simmering, I guess, or excuse the light. So that is what's going on. And in the meantime, I'm going to reheat my rice. So I have rice left over. I see you. I have rice left over from yesterday. And it is brown rice. And thank God we have a rice cooker. So here's our leftover rice from the refrigerator. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just pop it back into my rice cooker. And if you don't have a rice cooker, you really should get one. Because whether or not you cook perfect rice, it makes everything a lot easier. So I'm going to just put it right back in my rice cooker. And add a little water and turn it on to cook. And it shouldn't take that long to soften up and reheat. So my spinach is cooking, and while my rice is reheating or cooking, I'm going to move on to cleaning my shrimp. All right, so I have my shrimp, and I've already rinsed it, and it's in the bowl. I lowered the temperature on my stove that is cooking my onions, and it is also cooking my spinach. So you just want to make sure that your temperature is low enough to cook it, but high enough. High enough to cook it, but low enough to where you're not frying your onions and you're not frying your spinach. So you don't want to do that. So let me show you it. My clump of spinach is finally like thrown out, and I'm just going to add a bit more butter. And you want to add as much butter as often as you need to. So all right, so I have my spinach going, and let me show you the seasoning that I will be using for this meal. I have my onion powder. Even though I use onions, I like the way the onion powder tastes, so I'm adding that. I have ground oregano, which I use mostly in my chicken dinners, but I also use it when I'm making something that's kind of like Italian inspired. So since this is Alfredo, I'm going to add a little bit of oregano. I have my garlic powder, and I'm really using this because I am out of garlic. So if you have fresh garlic, then you definitely want to add that in. Anytime you make something that is an Alfredo dish, garlic is always the way to go. So I have that, and I also have, this is Tony Kashers. I'm not sure if I said it right, but it is a Creole seasoning, and I like it because it has a little heat. It has a little kick to it. So you don't want to use too much if you don't like hot or spicy food, and especially if you're feeding this meal to children and they're not used to eating spicy food. So you might want to make sure you're not heavy-handed with this. And this is there. And I will also be adding, what's that for? A little bit of our seasoning salt. I prefer the Lawry's brand, but this is what they had, so this is what we have. All right, so that's for the seasoning. My spinach is looking about right, and it smells good. And so now I'm going to move on to my shrimp. Make sure you have a trash bag ready to put the tails and all the other undesirable pieces of the shrimp in the bag so you can throw it out. So this is what a cleaned and deveined shrimp looks like. You see? But it still has the tail. Yes. This is the tail. And you don't want to eat the tail. So some people, they just pull the tail off just like that. You can separate it. Come over here so you can see. But here, the underside is where the vein is. And there's no vein there really. You can,
with the tail,
I'll show you. You can pull that out to double check. But, and then here is where the other little nasty stuff is that you don't want to eat. So this one is pretty much clean. There's the green stuff there from the spinach. But this is what a clean shrimp should look like. And since it's clean, I'm just going to take this guy and toss him in. You can cut the shrimp to make it a lot smaller. That's the tail. Yeah, you don't want to eat the tail. So I'm going to finish getting my shrimp ready. Yeah, and maybe cut them up like this. And it's also a great idea to cut your shrimp or any kind of meat, because meat tends to cost more than rice and everything else. You cut it if you're feeding a lot of people. That way they still have the taste of the meat, but you don't have to spend as much money on the expensive part, which is, again, the meat. So I'm going to get my meat cut up and everything and finish with my shrimp, and then I'll come back.